Hello students. So this class we will be discussing programming 8051 timers using interrupts. Before I proceed, I want to apologize for the previous session because I something happened to my volume switch and it was quite low, which I didn't notice. So the volume of the video recording was quite low. I'm sorry for the inconvenience caused. I hope it is understood. If you have any problem with understanding the lecture there, the previous lecture, please let me know. Yeah, sorry again. Fine. So we'll proceed. So in this class, we will be discussing how to program 8051 timers using interrupts. Okay. Okay, so if you recall the timer programs which we had discussed in the uh, earlier classes, so wherever we use timers, we used to check for the timer overflow flag, right? So we used polling method there. So we use the instruction jump on not bit TF, comma here or target, something like that. So that was polling method. And I hope now you are familiar with the difference between interrupt method and polling method. Where in polling method, you remember we used to wait there. The CPU used to be, sorry, be in the loop until the overflow flag was set or raised, right? So there the CPU was tied up. It was not allowed to do anything but wait for the overflow flag to get raised or get high. Okay, so this is not a convenient method, right? So this drawback is overcome by the interrupt method. So in interrupt method, we use a particular register, interrupt enable register, where based on the application, whether we are using timer or serial communication or whatever. So if that particular interrupts are enabled, okay, and in this case, if the timer rollover takes place and the overflow flag gets set or raised, then that would be generating an interrupt signal to the CPU. Okay, so the microcontroller 8051, whatever it is performing, it has to halt there now and give service to the interrupt signal. So what is the service? As I mentioned in the previous session, it is nothing but forcefully executing a subroutine. So the subroutine here is called interrupt service routine. Okay, so interrupt service routine would be the way of responding to the interrupt signal. Okay, so that is how it works. So the if you are taking timer 0 or timer 1, I have shown here, whenever the timer 0 overflow flag gets set, when it becomes 1, then that would lead to ISR, that is its corresponding ISR, timer 0 overflow interrupt ISR, which would be saved at memory location 000BH. Okay. So similarly, timer 1 interrupt is nothing but whenever the timer 1 overflow flag gets set, that is nothing but there is a interrupt, timer 1 interrupt. So the ISR for corresponding timer 1 interrupt is saved at memory location 001BH. Okay, so that subroutine would be executed when there is a timer 1 interrupt occurring. All right. We'll understand more about this by looking at a example program. The program says write a program that continuously get 8-bit data, okay, from port 0 and sends it to port 1 while simultaneously creating a square wave of 200 microsecond period on pin P2.1. Okay, observe here, three things are happening, three ports are used. Okay, which is the input port? Read the question, just analyze. which is the input port here. Port 0 is the input port. So the data is coming continuously at port 0. That is sent to port 1. So port 1 is the output port, right? Also, what are you doing? You are generating a square wave, okay, at port 2. Port 2 P2.1 pin, all right? So the square wave time period is given there 200 microsecond. All right. Now what does it mean? Now you have to use a timer to generate this delay. Okay. So use timer 0 to create a square wave. So they have mentioned there timer 0 is used to create the square wave. So assume the crystal frequency of the system is 11.0592 megahertz. Let's observe what happens here. Okay, just for you to recall, I have placed here the TMOD register and interrupt enable register. TMOD register, which is a bit addressable register, it has 8 bits, upper 4 bits for timer 1 and lower 4 bits for timer 0. Okay, since you are using timer 0 in this particular example, the lower 4 bits will be used and upper 4 bits will be made all zeros. And I hope you remember what gate C/T bar M1 M0 signify. Yeah, I'm not repeating here, you should be familiar by this time. Then the other register which you have to use in this particular program is interrupt enable register. So based on which interrupt you want to generate, okay, that particular bit you have to enable it, right? So here EA will be obviously enabled because all interrupt has to be enabled, means EA has to be made 1. Then you are using timer 0. So the second bit, that is 0 1, from the bit next to LSB will be used, timer 0 interrupt, right? Okay, so if you look at the program here, pay attention to the program. It has 3 parts there. First is the beginning 2 instructions. Then the second part is the ISR, that is interrupt service routine, which is saved from memory location ORG000BH, which is the address allocated for timer 0 interrupt. Okay, and in fact you are saving your main program from memory location ORG0030H. Okay, so why is that so? If you remember, all of our program starts from ORG0000H. Okay, since we are not supposed to use the memory allocation which is allocated for interrupt vector table and the ISRs, we are shifting a program or saving a program from some other location. So that we are indicating immediately after ORG00H, that is using ljump main instruction. Recall, I had explained in the previous session. So ljump main is nothing but signifying the address where your main program is saved. Okay, so it will when this instruction is executed, the program counter will shift or change its location to main, that is 0030H. That is where your exactly your main program is saved. Okay, now let us analyze what is happening in the program. You are loading a TMOD register with 02H. 02 signifies that the lower nibble, which is dedicated for timer 0, you are making it as the lower nibble 0010, that is 2, right? So 10 means, it means that timer 0 is programmed to be operating in mode 2. So mode 2 means it is operating as a 8-bit timer with auto reload method, right? Okay, so auto reload method means you have to load the initial value in TH0 register. Okay, now what is that the value that you are loading onto TH0 register? So what's the question? You have to generate a square wave of time period 200 microsecond. So half of the square wave, that is half the pulse duration, will be 100. So that you are doing here. So 100 by 1.085 microsecond. So you're getting 92 in decimal. So you can load minus 92 in decimal into TH0 register, or also you can load A4 into TH0 register. So that is the initial value. All right. So let's see what is the next instruction. You are loading FF into P0 register. Why is that so? Because P0 is considered as input port here. First you have to configure it to be input port. So you're making all pins of port 0 pin as high, sending FFH, right? Then you're loading the initial value minus 92. Either you can load minus 92 or A4H, which is the meaning that you are using timer 0 to generate a delay of 100 microsecond. That's the meaning. Then you are loading IE register with 82. If you recall the IE register, the last bit, that is 10, signifies that you are enabling the timer 0 interrupt, and the MSB bit is also made 1 because in order to make any of the interrupt active, you have to first enable D7 bit of IE register. That is clear. Now set bit TR0. Okay, that means you are starting the timer 0. So starting the timer 0 means now the timer 0 starts ticking. The TL0 register of timer 0 will start counting up. So it starts from A4, A5, A6, A7, A8, A9, AA, AB. Like that, it goes up to the maximum value FFH, isn't it? Okay, you know about the timer operation. Okay, now the next instruction used here is move A comma port 0 and move P1 comma A. So according to the question, read the data from the port 0 and send it to port 1. That is happening here. Okay, then sjump back, repeat the same process and end. Now observe here, though we are using timer 0 to generate the delay here, we are nowhere checking the TF0 flag, isn't it? Okay, so what is how are the things happening here? So what is the role of ISR? Now recall, using interrupt method, you have enabled the timer 0 interrupt, okay, by sending that value 82, isn't it? Then so internally the circuit operation will be happening so that now CPU is not polling, it is not waiting for the overflow flag to get set. It is doing its work. What is the work assigned here? Read the data from port 0 and send it to port 1. So continuously this is happening. Okay. Whenever the timer value, that is TL0, reaches FF, it rolls back to 0, 0. Then the overflow flag will get set. Okay. Which is indicated in TMOD register. So when that gets set, TF0 bit gets set, that will generate the interrupt to the microcontroller. So microcontroller now what it has to do, what is it is doing now? It is reading the data from port 0 and sending it to port 1. Now it has to stop whatever it is doing and execute the corresponding ISR. What is the corresponding ISR for timer 0 interrupt? It has to execute the ISR which is saved at memory location 000BH. Now go to the second part of the program here. What are you doing in your ISR? In this particular ISR, you are complementing P2.1. Okay, it need not be always same. ISRs can be different. All right. In this particular example, you are complementing 2.1. What does it mean? It means that the value at P2.1, say imagine it was higher previously. Now after a duration of 100 microsecond, now it is complemented. It becomes 0, isn't it? Now what happens after ISR? It will come back to the main program, isn't it? So from the main program again, same thing repeats. So Jump back means it will come back to set bit TR0, that is timer will start again, it will start counting again, then again the delay is generated for 100 microsecond, then again whenever the overflow flag will get set, the ISR will be executed. In the ISR, what are you doing? You're complementing P2.1. So again the value which was 0 now it becomes high. So it is nothing but you are generating a square wave of a time period of 200 microsecond. Okay, I hope it is clear. Now observe here, end of the subroutine is RETI. If you recall things, in the previous examples, whenever the overflow flag was set, what we used to do, we used to clear it using software method, isn't it? But we nowhere here we are doing that. So that job is done by RETI instruction. If you recall the function of RETI, it is nothing but end of the subroutine and it has to go back to the main program where the interrupt was generated, isn't it? Continue with the main program. So what does it do? It pops the 2 bytes of address from the stack, loads it back to the program counter. Okay, that is the function of RETI. Also, RETI will clear the TF0 bit. Okay, so that is the significance of RETI and the difference between RET and RETI. All right, RETI will reset the interrupt and pop the 2 bytes of the address that was stacked back onto program counter. Okay, so here you have to concentrate on the programming of timer using interrupts. Also, I have also explained about RETI and RET difference. All right, difference between RET and RETI. So, hope it is clear. Please repeat the explanation and try to understand. Repeat it over and over again and try to understand. Okay, consider the next program here. Rewrite the same program, the previous program, that is 11.2, to create a square wave that has a high portion of 1085 microsecond and a low portion of 15 microsecond. Assume the same crystal frequency of and use timer 1. Okay. So since the program is very lengthy, I've split the program into 2 slides. So the first part of the program is first the initial 2 instructions and the ISR. So observe here, initial 2 instructions of the program also is like starting from ORG00, then LJump main. You know the reason why we are using this instruction. And in ISR also is quite lengthy, so we are not able to fit that in the memory location 001BH. So we are using one more location, so we are using LJump instruction where the ISR is saved in some other location. So recall I had mentioned in the previous session, the ISR should be as low or small as possible. It has to take very minimum memory space. So if you recall, the memory space allocated for each ISR is hardly 8 bits. Yeah, not more than that. So if your program is taking more than 8, sorry, not 8 bits, 8 bytes. If your program is taking more than 8 bytes, then this is the way we have to follow. We have to save the ISR in some other location. So in the vector table or in that particular address of memory location 001BH, we have to say LJump to that location. Okay, program is to generate a square wave with different duty cycle, right? So the on time period is more compared to the off time period, right? So observe the program here. Since 1000 into 1.085 microsecond, it gives a quite a higher value, then we are using the timer to be operating in mode 1. We cannot use the timer to be operating in mode 2 because the product what you are getting or the value what you are getting is more than 8 bit data. So You are using timer 1 to operate in mode 1. All right. So the value what you are getting, the 16-bit value for mode 1, you have to load into TL1 and TH1. You know that, right? So for 1085 microsecond duration for on time period, so you are getting value 1000 into 1.085. All right. So the hexadecimal value FC18. So the higher byte of the timer 1, that is TH1, will hold FC, and the lower byte register TL1 will hold the value 18. All right. So the main program starts from memory location 0030H. You're loading TMOD register with 10. So 10 means higher nibble. You're programming the timer 1 to operate in mode 1. Then you're configuring port 0 to be input port by sending FF to the port 0. Then you're loading the initial value into TH1 and TL1. Okay. Then you're loading IE register with 88. So 88 means it is the binary value is also shown here. So you are enabling the timer 1 interrupt. Okay. And the D7 bit as well. Set bit TR1 will start the timer. Then what are you doing? You're reading the data from port 0 and send it to port 1. Same thing. It is done here. All right. Now, so the timer has started. It starts counting from FC18. Okay, it starts counting when it reaches FFFF. Then it rolls over to 0000. Whenever it rolls over, then TF1, that is overflow flag for timer 1, will get set. So when it gets set, as you have enabled this in IE register, the timer 1 interrupt will be generated to the microcontroller. Now the microcontroller, whatever it is doing, it will stop. Then it has to execute the ISR. So ISR, according to the vector table, the address for timer 1 interrupt is 001BH. So if it goes to that location, there you would have mentioned ljump to ISR underscore T1. So this is the location where your ISR is saved. So ISR underscore T1. So here, what are you doing there? You stop the timer. Okay. Then you're loading with some value to R2 to generate the off time period. Okay. You're also clearing P2.1 because you are now generating the off period delay. Okay. So the value you are taking into R2 is 4 decimal value. Then you are decrementing it. You are in the loop till it becomes 0. So you are decrementing R2. If it is not equal to 0, then here. So you are waiting for R2 to get 0, which means that you are generating the time delay of 15 microsecond. Okay. So the machine cycles for each instructions are given here. You should be able to relate that whether it is generating 15 microsecond. All right. Now after that, if you come out of that loop, what happens? When R2 becomes 0, what are you doing there? You are sending TL1 and TH1 with the same value. What does it mean? It means that since the timers are operating in mode 1, it is not auto reload method. So you have to reload the initial value again, okay, manually. Okay, that is using software method. So the initial value is loaded here in the ISR. Okay, then your set bit TR1, you are starting the timer. Then again, what are you doing? Set bit P2.1. Now you are making the P2.1 bit again high because earlier you had cleared it, that off period time period was generated here because of the loop here. Okay, the 15 microseconds is generated here. Then you're starting the timer and setting the P2.1. So now you are in the on time period now. Now what happens? It will go back to the main program, isn't it? So when it goes back to the main program, you have already loaded the initial value and you have already started the timer also. So when it goes back to the main program, now on period will be the time delay generation for that on time period is happening now. Okay. So again, what is happening? Go back to back. So read from port 0 and send to port 1 is taking place now continuously, isn't it? So again, when the timer reaches maximum value and rollover takes place, overflow flag will get set and interrupt is generated. So when the interrupt is generated, its corresponding ISR has to be executed. So again, this ISR will be executed, subroutine will be executed. In that, again, you are stopping the timer. Okay, now you are again clearing T2.1. That means you are continuously generating a square wave, not square wave, a waveform with an on period of 1085 microsecond and off time period of 15 microsecond. Okay, so go through the program. I hope it is clear. Please repeat the explanations. Okay, let us check your understanding by these review questions. There is only single interrupt assigned for timer 0 and timer 1. True or false? It is false, isn't it? There are interrupts assigned for both timer 0 and timer 1 separately, isn't it? Yeah. Now, assume that timer 1 is programmed in mode 2, TH1 is loaded with F5H, and IE bit for timer 1 is enabled. Explain how the interrupt for the timer works. Can you think of it? So how do you explain that? What happens? So timer 1 is operating in mode 2. That means auto reload method, right? So the initial value you have to load in TH1 register F5. So in the program, what you'll be doing, you'll be using instruction set bit TR1. That means start the timer, isn't it? So when the timer is started, what happens? The timer will start counting up from F5 to FFH, isn't it? So meanwhile, the 8051, what it will be doing, it can be performing any other operation or the task, right? So internally, these things will be happening. Timer 1, it starts counting from F5 to FF. So when it reaches maximum value, it rolls back. So whenever that rollover takes place, the overflow flag will get set. So when the flag gets set, the interrupt, timer 1 interrupt will be generated, which will be given to the microcontroller. So microcontroller halts whatever it is doing, and it goes to the memory location ISR. Okay, ISR for timers 1, right? So which is the location 001BH. It goes to that location and execute the particular ISR, right? So that is how the interrupt for timer works. Okay, the last question. The last two instructions for timer 0 ISR is clear TF0 and RETI. Should these two instructions be the last two instructions for timer 0 ISR, interrupt service routine? Yes or no? No, these last two instructions need not be, because the clear TF0 is not at all required. It is not required. Why? Because RETI does the job of clearing TF0. Okay, so you need not separately use instruction clear TF0. RETI does that. Okay, so the function of RETI is it will clear the TF0 flag that is set, and it will also pop up the 2 bytes of address back onto the program counter. Okay, so that's it for today's session.